There's always one person in the room. They're not the loudest. They're not the one leading the conversation or cracking the jokes. They're sitting slightly to the side, maybe with a drink in their hand, maybe just watching. And everyone kind of forgets about them. But here's what nobody realizes. That person? They've already figured out who's lying. They noticed the tension between two people before anyone else did. They clocked every micro-expression, every hesitation, every forced smile. They saw everything. And they said nothing. That's the silent observer. And if you've ever felt like that person, or if you've always wondered why some people seem to just know things without being told, this video is for you. First, let's get clear on what we're actually talking about. A silent observer isn't just someone who's shy. It's not social anxiety. It's not being antisocial or disinterested. A silent observer is someone who processes the world differently. Instead of broadcasting their thoughts, they absorb. Instead of filling silence, they use it. Instead of reacting immediately, they watch, and they wait. Psychologists sometimes describe this as a heightened sensitivity to social information. These are people whose brains are wired to pick up on things that most people tune out. Tone of voice, body language, what someone didn't say, the way a person's energy shifts when a certain topic comes up. And here's the thing. This is not a weakness. This is one of the most underrated forms of intelligence that exists. But the world rarely sees it that way. Because we live in a world that rewards the loudest voice in the room, the one who speaks first, the one who takes up space. And if you don't do that, if you're the one watching instead, people misread you. They call you quiet. They call you distant. Sometimes they don't notice you at all. That's what we're going to unpack today. So why are some people like this? Research in personality psychology shows that people who tend to observe more and speak less often have higher levels of what's called introversion and sensory processing sensitivity, a trait studied extensively by psychologist Elaine Aron. Highly sensitive people, or HSPs, process environmental information much more deeply than others. They don't just hear words. They feel the weight behind them. They notice that you smiled, but your eyes didn't. They notice that your energy was different today compared to last week. This kind of processing takes mental bandwidth, which is exactly why observers often go quiet in group settings. Not because they have nothing to say, but because their brain is already running a full diagnostic on the room. There's also something called the quiet eye phenomenon, studied in elite performers and athletes, where the best decision makers in high-pressure situations are the ones who pause before acting, who take in more information before committing. Silent observers do this socially, naturally, instinctively, and that makes them, in many ways, exceptional readers of people. Let's get specific. Here are 5 things that silent observers pick up on, that most people completely miss. Number 1, who's performing versus who's being real. In any group setting, most people are, to some degree, performing. They're presenting a version of themselves. The observer catches this. They notice the gap between what someone says and how they say it. They notice when someone's confidence is a front, when someone's laughter is slightly too loud, when someone wants to be liked a little too badly. They're not judging, they're just reading. Number 2, power dynamics. Who defers to whom? Who controls the energy in the room? Whose opinion shifts the conversation? Whose presence makes other people slightly smaller? These dynamics are invisible to most people, but for the observer, they're as clear as a map. Number 3, what people are afraid of. This one is subtle. When a topic makes someone visibly uncomfortable, a brief tension in the jaw, a change in the way they hold their body, a too quick redirect in the conversation, the observer notices. They file it away, not to exploit it, just to understand. Number 4, who people actually are when they're relaxed. Most of what we show in social settings is curated, but in the in-between moments, the quiet walk to the car, the end of a party when the energy drops, the offhand comment that wasn't meant for public consumption, that's when people let their real self slip through. Observers are always watching for those moments. Number 5, unspoken pain. This one might be the most powerful. Silent observers often pick up on suffering that other people don't see. The friend who's smiling but something's off. The colleague who's holding it together but just barely. They feel it before they can explain it. And often, they're the only ones who ask. Here's where it gets painful and honest. Because of how the world is built, silent observers are almost always misunderstood. They get called aloof, when really they're just taking everything in. They get called hard to read, when really they're just selective about what they share. They get told to speak up more, to be more assertive, to take up more space. As if the way they naturally move through the world is a flaw that needs to be corrected. And the cruel irony? The people telling them this are often the ones the observer has already understood completely. There's also a social cost to being this way. When you don't perform your emotions loudly, people assume you don't have them. When you don't volunteer information freely, people fill in the blanks, and they usually fill them in wrong. So the observer ends up carrying this strange kind of loneliness. They understand everyone around them, but almost no one understands them. If that hits something in you, hold that feeling, because this is where the unbecoming starts. Here's what I want you to understand. The same trait that makes the world misread you is the trait that gives you an extraordinary advantage, if you learn to own it. Think about the people in history who changed things quietly, the scientists who observed patterns for years before speaking, the writers who watched life deeply before translating it onto the page, the leaders who listened more than they spoke, and because of that, made decisions that actually held. In relationships, the observer is often the one who sees their partner, really sees them, in ways that partner has never felt seen before. That's a rare and beautiful gift. In professional settings, the observer is the one who understands the room before any decision is made. They see the problems coming. They notice what others overlook. And when they finally do speak, people listen. Because they've built the kind of credibility that only comes from saying the right thing at the right time. Silence is not absence. Observation is not passivity. Watching is not weakness. It is, in many ways, the highest form of attention you can give to another human being. There's a concept at the heart of this channel: the unbecoming. It's the idea that who you really are, your truest self, isn't something you build. It's something you uncover. By stripping away the conditioning, the performance, the version of yourself you became because the world rewarded it. And for silent observers, that work is very specific. It's about stopping the apology. The quiet habit of shrinking yourself just a little more every time someone said you were too quiet. Every time you felt like you needed to be louder, more social, more expressive, just to be enough. You were never too quiet. You were just listening to the wrong voices about who you were supposed to be. The quietest person in the room sees everything. And maybe, just maybe, the world needs more people who are willing to slow down and actually see. If this video resonated with you, if you recognized yourself anywhere in here, I'd love to know. Drop a comment. Tell me, are you a silent observer? Or do you have one in your life? And if this is your first time here, this is the Unbecoming. We explore the psychology of who you really are, underneath everything you've been told to be. Subscribe if that sounds like the kind of conversation you want to be in. I'll see you in the next one.